So let me show you real quick how yehyecoa-vue works within Amoxtli Vue. On the left, you can see here that we have all the, the text, the links, the tooltips, all those things that you probably already have been using. And let's do an expansion of the yehyecoa-vue preview, basically. So we are just expanding that in order for you to be more comfortable, basically. That's my idea, my goal here. You can see up top here we have the yehyecoa-vue preview. This is basically a pane that you can see will contain the application that we're running right now. And this is what you see. The code on the left, and then there's a preview here. You are probably going to see some similarities with the official playground for Vue. And this is basically based on the same component, which is open source, but that I modified a little bit. Awesome. So the first thing you will notice is that we have this console here that should be more like an output. You can't really do stuff here like you would do in a normal browser console panel, but still, I think it's going to be useful. So you can see here, we are printing out, we're logging the version of Vue that we're using in this particular code, and you will get it there. I will show you a little bit more examples as we go through this video, but just so you know, there's that. You can clear the console, that's very basic, and that will be the right-hand side, as you can see it here, for the preview and the output of the console. So you can consider this as one panel, and the code will be on the other panel, basically, right? So let's say that I wanted to, make some changes, experiment, and then save these changes because I wanted to keep, like my notes or the experiment the way I need it or wanted. So what you can do here is go to this top right, kind of like a toolbar, and then save your snapshot. And when you do, then you can continue and do some more changes and save them as well. For this part, I will be using the keyboard. So I will do Command S. And when I do that, you can see the snapshot is saved as well. You can always click the button. That doesn't really matter. I just added that as a convenient way to, another update here to make it easier for you to save stuff. What happens if you try to save more than once at the time, which is something I usually do? Then you get these that are alerting you there's nothing really new to save, so there's no other snapshot being saved. What I mean by that is that you can go here on the next button for history, and what we do here in history is we save your snapshots. So this is a very basic and primitive, I would say, versioning control system. This is not Git related or anything. It's just saving your files in your browser. This also need to point out this is local, and it's not going to sync between other browser sessions that you have. So everything is local to this particular browser instance, and you won't be able to find it anywhere else, at least at this point where we are. So now you can see this list of snapshots, and we can go in, for example, to this little indicator here that will tell us what the differences are between what you have currently on your editor versus what the snapshot has in itself, right? And there's a point where no changes are made, right? So they are both the same thing, and that's what you can see here. So all of the snapshots tell you how long ago the change was made, things like that. You can hover over and you will see the exact, minute and second that you did your made your change. So there's that as well. Cool. So let's say I wanted to restore the version where this happened, right? So I just restored, and you could tell that the left-hand side, the code itself changed. And now we have this auto-saved snapshot where it says before you restored, then I will create a backup so you can actually come back to this as well, right? So there's this. There's some auto savings every so often. I don't recall right now what the configuration was, but that's the main idea. So you have manual snapshots as well as automatic ones. And I won't talk about what I really have in mind for future iterations of this, but right now this is what you can get. Cool. Now let's switch to a different lesson. For example, let's say we want to go to rendering on the page and then lists. Another thing I wanted to show you here is, well, you can tell here that this code is a little bit less trivial. There's a little bit more of code involved, and there's a few things that are happening. So let's save the snapshot, for example, and you can see everything still works. You can see now that we changed this session to be 1 for 2, composition versus, this is the rendering lists session. And there's a few of those here. I think I have a bug that I will figure out later on. But the idea is that you can have different sessions depending on what chapter you are in, right? So that's the basic idea. You can have your sessions which save your different changes. Sorry, that's not the way to comment here. Hello, and then I save. There you go. We are in the proper session. So these are grouping your snapshots, and then you can use them like that. Cool. One other thing that I wanted to show while being here is that sometimes when I am explaining things in the left-hand side, you will notice that I also provide these buttons here. These little guys tell you that you can change the code. So if you do this, then the code itself will be updated. In this particular case, note this way of rendering the list. So that changes. And that's what we're doing through these buttons. So these are going to be, sprinkled here and there throughout the lessons. And that will give you, hopefully, a little bit more of an overview or an explanation of what I'm trying to say when I do with these things, right? So be aware that these are available. There's another more dramatic change in reactivity, for example, in this chapter, where we are comparing the two ways to write code. So I think it's up here. There you go. So this is, like I said, a little bit more dramatic change in the code. So everything basically changes there, and you can do those. And you can see here that this changed properly this time with composition versus options API, and then we have an auto-saved from 22 minutes ago. Things like that are going to be part of your normal use of the yehyecoa-vue playground part here. Cool. So let me expand this to have the whole screen for us, and then hide the history. All right. So I'll continue with the next kind of button here. This is actually a menu, the layout menu, where, like I mentioned, you have the preview and the console on a single kind of panel that you can hide, right? So this way you have the entire screen for your code, and that's probably more comfortable for some of the tasks that we have in the book. So there's that. Within this panel, you can also hide the console and bring it back. With this, you can change the layout for that panel. So you can do console on the right or console on the bottom. One thing that you can also do is swap the code for this panel. So that we accomplish by hitting here, reverse layout, and then we change it. So there's that. You can, play around with those and see what actually works for you, depending on your preferences and the actual task that we have at hand. And there's finally this switch to vertical layout button here that swaps to horizontal depending on what mode is turned on at the moment. So you can see we have now the preview up top and the code on the bottom. Then you can swap them like this and turn on the console again. Maybe this way will be more comfortable for you. Stuff like that, right? So there's this for the layout. And like I mentioned, this is a menu rather than just a single toggle. Cool. Finally, sorry for the flash there. You will get this light theme now. Like I mentioned before, I am trying to take care of these things. You know that the UI looks okay in both dark and light modes. So there's that. Right. So let's go back to dark mode. What I want to do here is to remove, for example, this snapshot, right? And what I get here is a little confirmation pop-up that won't let me delete it until I actually want to. So confirming, it's the important bit here, right? If I didn't want to do that, like click confirm every single time, what I can do is hold the Alt and Shift keys in my keyboard and then directly go ahead and remove that snapshot. So you can see we can even delete the automatic ones, right? So I figured that would be useful for this UI.